25 years ago, countless gigantic creatures suddenly appeared across the world, with massive forms that destroyed everything in their path, and people called them dragons. Not long after, humanity began to see children born with the power of dragons, and they were called D. 3 years ago, a terrifying event occurred. A massive dragon advanced toward Mitsuki, and the girl used her dragon powers to fight it, but she failed. At that moment, her older brother Yuo appeared, told her something, then walked forward to confront the deformed dragon. A tremendous power burst out from him, and Mitsuki, standing behind, watched her brother with tears in her eyes. The flashback ended, Yuo opened his eyes, and he was now in a strange place, white sands and lush greenery, with the sound of ocean waves in the distance, on a large island. Here, he unexpectedly encountered Iris bathing in the sea and accidentally saw her completely naked body. Iris mistook Yuo for a pervert and screamed, summoning her power to attack him. However, unfortunately, she was not skilled at using her powers, and thus ended up hurting herself. Waves splashed high, tossing her onto the shore. While Iris was unconscious, Yuo accidentally saw the dragon's emblem on her body. As a proper soldier, Yuo took off his military coat and covered her, helping her conceal her body. When she woke up, the girl still thought Yuo was a pervert, because on Midgar Island there had never been any boys. To prove his innocence, Yuo presented his active duty military identification from Niffle and introduced himself. Iris was surprised that he was the same age as her, both being 16. Yuo was very polite, turning his face away to wait for Iris to put on clothes, but instead of putting on her own, Iris introduced herself while wearing Yuo's coat. When he wanted to take back his coat, she started suspecting him of being a pervert, taking it back just to smell her body's scent, and thus she scolded him loudly. At that moment, a girl sharing the Mononobe surname with Yuo appeared, greeting him after 3 years of separation, to Iris's shock and astonishment. The three of them then headed back to school together. Mitsuki gave him a school uniform and explained that, since he was on the island, Yuo had to enroll in their academy. Midgar had always been an all-girls school, and he was its very first male student. Before entering the classroom, Yuo was called in privately by Haruka, the homeroom teacher of class Brunhild. She introduced herself as a colonel, the one in charge of Midgar's command. She began testing how much he knew. Through a round of questions and answers between the two, some secrets were gradually revealed. Midgar Island was once a prison camp for D that Niffle had captured, but when society accepted the D, it was turned into an academy under Asugar's authority. Midgar's current objective was to use the power of the D to benefit society, such as materializing dark powers into rare resources and using them to fight dragons. After finishing his conversation with Haruka, Yuo was led by Mitsuki, his younger sister, and the student council president of Midgar, to be introduced to the whole school. The students were extremely curious about Yuo, surprised that he was a boy and also a D. Mitsuki reminded everyone not to discriminate by gender, but to care for and protect one another. Of course, if Yuo caused trouble, even as the brother of the student council president, he would still be severely punished. After the introduction, Mitsuki told him that since Yuo had been assigned to her class, he would undergo dragon communication training, and he should be careful and not make mistakes. When entering the class, Haruka once again introduced Yuo to everyone, but Lisa did not like Yuo, refusing to accept the admission of a boy and accusing Mitsuki of abusing her authority to bring her brother into the school. However, Mitsuki stated that it was a fair decision after proper procedures and official investigation. Yuo also raised his hand to prove he bore the dragon's emblem, showing that he truly was a D. Lisa then demanded that he demonstrate his power on the spot, and the classmates agreed. Yuo did not hesitate to display his strength. Dark matter was a substance that could be transformed into many objects and phenomena, and all D could control it. Yuo turned the dark matter in his hand into a gun capable of firing real bullets. Ariella did not understand why he would use his ability to create something so useless, and Haruka explained that at Midgars, the enemy was not human, so using guns would be ineffective. Before starting the lesson, Haruka told Lisa to list all the dragon species that had been confirmed up to now, conveniently spreading knowledge to Yuo as well. Lisa connected her phone to the screen on the board and began answering. The dragons that had appeared included the black dragon Bertola, white dragon Leviathan, red dragon Basilisk, blue dragon Hecatonchires, gold dragon Fresberg, green dragon Yggdrasil, and purple dragon Kraken. Their next target was the red dragon basilisk, whose shell was as hard as diamond, thus rendering Yuu's gun completely useless. Lisa looked down on Yuu's ability, but Mitsuki ignored her hostility, while Iris directly spoke up to defend him, saying that Yui was now one of their comrades and that she was not bothered by the embarrassing incident that morning. However, Iris's blunt honesty only made everyone think Yui was a despicable person, a stain that could not be washed away even if he jumped into the Yellow River. The scene shifted to the training room. Yui wondered why it was built underground, and Iris explained that failed materialization could cause deadly explosions, so it was built underground to prevent material detonation accidents. Yet what concerned Yui most was Iris herself, because of the explosion under the sea earlier that morning, and he also discovered that she had never once successfully materialized matter. Since it was his first time in the practical class, Yui sat in the observation room. The training hall began to change, and Haruka reviewed the lessons for the others while teaching Yui. By transforming dark matter into air, they could fly in the sky. To aid their practice, Mitsuki materialized dark matter into diamond shaped like the red dragon basilisk. Lisa boldly declared that she would show Yui the difference in their abilities. She summoned a spear of energy, though not a real spear. Haruka explained that by altering its shape, its surface was materialized, but 99% of it was still dark matter. The spear in Lisa's hand unleashed a powerful burst of energy, shattering the diamond instantly. The next to demonstrate was Feral, who summoned a magic book and attacked the diamond red dragon basilisk with a powerful compressed air bullet. Haruka noted that the girls did not imagine things like real bullets during materialization. What they imagined was magic. Miyazawa summoned a massive hammer and smashed the diamond body of the beast, sending shards flying everywhere. Lisa summoned the wind to gather the fragments. Auriella conjured a giant shield to block them, while Mitsuki summoned a bow that fired a super-powered energy arrow, completely destroying the diamond red dragon basilisk. That was how the girls trained for the battle against dragons. Haruka explained that dragons appeared in multiple places at once because they were searching for D compatible with them. Each D bore a mark on their body, and when they encountered a dragon with matching compatibility, the mark would transform and the D would turn into a similar dragon. This truth had been confirmed when they killed the purple kraken, as they had been forced to strike down a comrade who had turned into a dragon. Afterward, Midgar's fundamental objective was changed. The place now served as a fortress to protect D who were being targeted, and to hold dragons at the port. The last one to train was Iris. She summoned a rather cute magic staff, muttering that she wanted to launch a meteor, but it failed. Dark matter fell and exploded loudly. Seeing this, Lisa summoned wind to catch Iris and help her land safely. Even though she failed, she still had the spirit of not giving up. After class ended, Yu spoke with Iris. Instead of encouraging her, he bluntly concluded that no matter how much Iris tried, she would still fail, because she kept repeating the same mistake instead of correcting it, and people like that would end up dying early. Under the brilliant sunset, Yu grew curious as to why she tried so hard. Iris told him that a year ago, during a ship trip with her family, she was the only survivor after being attacked by the White Leviathan. She did not try in order to take revenge, but because she wanted to fight to protect others. At night, the two returned to the dormitory. Iris felt flustered because Yu treated her better than he did the others, and she wanted to know him more and also wanted to understand his feelings. However, Yu only saw her as a younger sister because she resembled Mitsuki in many ways. But Iris was not the type to give up easily. She wanted to get closer to Yu. Just as she was about to confess her feelings, the alarm suddenly rang, announcing a level C alert, White Dragon. Yu wondered whether level C was dangerous, then saw Iris holding her stomach, hiding the mark that was beginning to transform. In the command room, Haruka stood before the alarm screen, which displayed that in less than 48 hours, the White Leviathan would arrive at Midgar. At this moment, Yu returned to his room, suddenly seeing his computer display an incoming call from Major Loki. He had intended to contact Yu earlier, but Midgar's security was strong, so it had taken him quite a while. Loki revealed to Yu a way to exterminate dragons, which was to eliminate D who showed signs of transformation, and the Niffle organization needed Yu to work in the shadows on their behalf. Yu disagreed with such a cruel method. Loki subtly threatened that if Yu did not cooperate, they would have to resort to other measures. At this point, only 46 hours remained before the White Dragon's arrival. The following morning, Mitsuki gathered everyone in the auditorium to announce the impending appearance of the white dragon. This was the second time it had appeared. The last time, after its emergence, it caused a shipwreck that killed many people. And now, in about 33 hours, it would reach Midgar. Its abnormal course change resembled the time when the purple kraken appeared. Mitsuki instructed everyone that if they saw their emblem change, they had to report immediately. Even if someone was the one attracting the white leviathan, they would still fight to protect that girl. Yu, sitting below, suddenly remembered last night's scene, seeing Iris clutching her stomach as if hiding something, and today she had not come to the assembly hall. Yu grew anxious and asked everyone where Iris was, but no one knew her whereabouts. After searching everywhere, Yu discovered Iris standing on the school rooftop, seemingly with reckless intentions. However, Iris only wanted to calm herself down. Yu demanded to see her emblem to confirm his suspicion. Iris lifted her clothes to show him the mark and admitted that she had considered skydiving without a parachute, but she was afraid of death. Understanding her fear, Yu reassured her that no one would abandon her, and they would fight to protect her at all costs. Yet Iris was still afraid. If the white dragon could break through the final defense line, she would not be able to end her own life. She would transform into a dragon and harm everyone, which was something she did not want at all. Yu promised Iris that she would not turn into a dragon, and if the worst were to happen, he himself would end her life, as long as she believed in him and trusted everyone. Iris was confused. Could she truly trust Yu? Yu told her not to worry, because he was the strongest assassin in the world. Finally, Iris went to report to the school, since it had been confirmed that her emblem had changed color. The level C alert was raised to level A. At that time, there were still about 30 hours and 30 minutes before the white leviathan's arrival. In the underground shelter, Yu waited outside, and Mitsuki came out to inform him that Iris had undergone a physical test and a thorough health examination. Though afraid that she was attracting a dragon, Iris remained calm and cooperative. After hearing, Yu asked his younger sister to let him be the one to protect Iris from everything except dragons. He also told Mitsuki about Loki's request. Yu said, if he protected Iris, the Niffle organization would not interfere and would not cause trouble for Midgar. Mitsuki understood. If something terrible happened, her brother would personally kill Iris. However, she requested to be the one to do it. After all, this was not the first time Mitsuki had laid hands on a comrade. Saying so, she ran off, leaving Yu dumbfounded standing in place. At present, they had only 24 hours left before the white dragon arrived. Since he had made his decision, Yu called Loki to inform him of his choice and asked him not to interfere in this matter. Although Loki agreed not to intervene, Yu was still quite wary of him because he was not trustworthy. After hanging up and returning to the hallway, he saw Lisa hesitating in front of Iris's room door. Yu found it a bit funny because Lisa was strong-mouthed but weak-hearted, clearly worried about Iris but still had to act cold in front of him. Lisa said that since childhood they had to live away from their families, so the members of the class were considered her family. However, she still had not accepted Yu as a new member of this family. Yu advised her to rest well before the battle, but in truth Lisa had no time to rest. She had to be vigilant at all times. When Lisa left, Yu asked her about the battle with Kraken 2 years ago. Lisa stopped, coldly replied, the one who destroyed both Death Dragon's Kraken was Mitsuki. Rationally, she understood they had no other choice, but emotionally she could not accept it. So Lisa could not forgive Mitsuki for killing family members. The victim that year was Miyako of class Brynhild, younger sister of teacher Haruka. At present, they had only more than 22 hours left. Yu entered Iris's room to check. She proudly said it was quite comfortable here, with a screen to monitor the outside situation. Since she was wearing a nightgown, Yu reminded her to change clothes. Iris said she didn't mind so she wouldn't change, and even told Yu to sit on the bed instead of standing. Suddenly, Iris hugged his arm, confiding that she was a little scared because she was about to have her mark checked again. Yet somehow, when touching Yu, she felt warm and reassured. Yu's eyes accidentally shifted to the screen. He happened to see his sister's comrades exposing themselves as their skirts fluttered. Iris saw him blushing, then asked if he liked looking at girls' exposure, and if he wanted to see her underwear. Iris even proactively lifted her skirt, using this action to express her gratitude because Yu cared about her. Yu hurriedly stopped her and explained that she should respect and cherish her body. Oh, indeed a true gentleman in the hearts of the girls. Afterwards, Iris prepared to bathe. She tricked Yu into bathing first with the excuse that she feared the pervert Yu would lick her bathtub and drink her bath water. He was speechless with this girl, so he had no choice but to bathe first. However, while Yu was bathing, Iris, wrapped in a towel, entered demanding to scrub his back. What should not be seen almost got seen. Iris acted like a thief crying thief as if she were the victim. Afterwards, there was nothing afterwards, only each bathing on their own and each sleeping in their own bed. Yu intended to sleep in the room next door, but Iris called him back. She wanted him to be with her on this last night. Yu wondered why it had to be him and not Lisa or Mitsuki. Iris innocently said, because he treated her better than anyone else. So she only needed him. In the end, kind-hearted Yu agreed to stay. He sat on the mat at Iris's bedside and advised her not to think of everything so pessimistically, to think positively, to think of other possibilities that could happen, to think that she would have a chance to live. Not always think that in the end, he would take her life. After listening to his persuasion for a long while, Iris also felt his words made sense. So she peacefully went to sleep. Yu still watched over Iris. Then he too drifted into slumber. In his dream, he dreamed of his childhood with Mitsuki. The two of them chasing each other up the mountain, gazing at the panoramic view of the city from afar. Since childhood, Mitsuki had a dream of marrying him to be her husband. So the two would always be together, like a private promise between them. Mitsuki even gave him a betrothal kiss, but as he dreamed to this point, a deep voice echoed in his head, saying he would have to pay the price for his memories. These words startled Yu awake. By this time, dawn had already broken. Iris had woken up earlier. She was watching the screen, observing the outside situation. Only 10 hours remained. At this moment, the white dragon Leviathan had already breached the first defensive line and was continuing to advance. The next defensive line was Mitsuki's combat unit. Everyone was highly focused and ready for battle. In Iris's room, Yu looked up at the screen and whispered, "White dragon Leviathan," not knowing what he was thinking inside. A voice echoed from the innermost room. Mitsuki sternly told Yu that if necessary, he would end Iris's life. Moreover, Mitsuki emphasized further the things Yu should remember, that he must be mentally prepared. If Iris could not transform, then she herself would end Iris. Despite Yu's words of dissuasion, Mitsuki continued to do what she had resolved to the end. On the large screen in the central command appeared meteor fragments falling. Ariella and Haruka were operating in the command center. At a certain moment, Haruka's cold voice rang out and a barrage of missiles was simultaneously launched targeting the monster Leviathan. Leviathan's power was so overwhelming that the missiles fired had no effect on it. Elsewhere, Yu and Iris were watching on another screen. Yu's thoughts emerged, with a zero-gravity barrier capable of bending space of the monster Leviathan. Meanwhile, at the command center, Haruka had the same thought as Yu. On top of a missile launch platform, Miyazawa, Lisa, Mitsuki, Firo, and Ariella received orders from teacher Haruka and attacked the monster. The monster ferociously charged forward with its zero-gravity barrier as its shield. One by one, each used their unique abilities and powers, combining together to attack Leviathan, creating a shockwave explosion on the sea without a ripple. As for Yu's side, suddenly Iris felt something wrong and shouted for everyone to move away. Those words were like a warning. The monster surged up from beneath the sea. It appeared without a single scratch. Perhaps the previous attack had only angered it. Leviathan roared a sonic wave, but Ariella created a shield to protect everyone. Yet it could not hold, and all were blown away by that sonic wave. Even the missile launch towers were shattered by the impact. Thus the battle feed was cut off. The situation was chaotic. Haruka was deep in thought when a call from Loki came in. On Yui's side, he also received a call. The scene now was the dialogue between Haruka and Yu. Yet it seemed she did not want Iris to be present beside him at this time. Knowing this, Yu told Iris to cover her ears until he and Haruka finished speaking, and Iris obeyed. Covering her ears and squatting down, Yu stepped forward and asked about the presence of Nifl here. The two exchanged words. One did not want Iris to disappear. The other said if she was here, then everything would repeat just like 2 years ago. Yu seemed to have discovered a secret of Haruka, that her younger sister was involved. So he thought that was the reason Haruka let Nifl intervene. But what Haruka wanted was that no one else should bear this risk. Even more surprising was Yui's proposal that he would do everything because Iris had staked her life on him. As long as it was for a person, he could do anything. These words stunned Haruka, in the end leaving her alone in thought. In the elevator, Yu recalled past memories about some pacts or contracts. Iris was worried Nifl would not spare her, but Yu reassured that he would drive them away for her when they arrived. Iris wanted to stay by Yui's side, and he not only agreed but also took her hand as a profound reassurance, which eased Iris's anxiety somewhat. Darkness descended. Soldiers from Nifl's army had already been deployed waiting to attack. Yu told Iris to stay put and he would use stun weapons, but it was difficult since the soldiers had real firearms while he did not. Bullets rained toward Yu, but one by one the soldiers were swiftly taken down by him because after all he had been in the military. So agility was necessary. The sound of gunfire kept echoing. It terrified Iris so much she trembled uncontrollably. In the end, everything quieted down again. Although worried, seeing that Yu was unharmed, Iris also calmed down. Suddenly behind them there was one soldier still able to move, intending to injure Yu. Without time to think much, she summoned a shield to protect him from danger. That action surprised Yu, but he still reminded her that right now her safety was the most important thing. They reached a place near the cliff, and only the two of them would strike at Leviathan if it broke through the final defensive line. Suddenly Mitsuki's voice rang out, rejecting Yu's words just now. At this moment, Mitsuki wanted Yu to hand Iris over, and he also understood the feeling of having to personally end a comrade who had turned into a dragon. The two struggled, neither wanting the other to be the one to kill Iris. The atmosphere was so tense it seemed like they were about to fight when, to distract Mitsuki, Yu blurted out that he could see her underwear, making her drop her guard so he could touch her head and win. This was the rule between the two of them when they were children. Yu rejected the earlier idea of ending Iris and instead said they should fight together until their last breath. The scene shifted to late evening. Lisa asked why Yu and Iris were here. Iris sincerely apologized to Lisa. Moreover, Yu emphasized that Iris might be a key to helping them. From Yui's words, it could be seen how far her abilities went. While everyone was talking, Leviathan approached with a terrifying presence. Lisa, out of worry for Iris, wanted her to go down to the shelter. But Iris seemed to have her own decision, not to run away and not to give up. The power from the staff in her hand partly supported everyone. The gravity shield surrounding the monster vanished, creating a golden opportunity to destroy it. Each person launched their own strikes, compared to the battle earlier in the afternoon. Now they were doing much better. It seemed they had defeated Leviathan. But no, it was enraged. Its fury brought certain consequences for everyone. Leviathan kept advancing despite Iris's attacks. Yu recalled the past, remembered the time when he obtained his power, remembered the pact with Yggdrasil. But the price he paid was his memories. In the present, Mitsuki raised her bow aiming straight at Iris. At that moment, Yu stepped in and blocked behind her, and also turned back to look at Mitsuki, asking her to trust him. Then Yu came close to Iris, wanting to borrow power from her staff to continue the pact from their childhood. Again memories, what he had to sacrifice to gain power. A massive weapon appeared, and its target was Leviathan. The hideous monster before them, combined with Mitsuki's divine arrow, made Leviathan disappear forever from the world, unable to harm anyone again. In the end, Yu only smiled at Iris once before collapsing unconscious. The scene shifted to Yu's room the next morning. He received praise from Loki. In Loki's message, he was pleased to cooperate with Yu. Suddenly the phone rang. Mitsuki had come to see Yu to make sure he was still alright, and Yu teased his little sister. Night came again. Yu and Iris met at a beach. Iris proposed that she and he be friends. Perhaps she did not know, but they were already friends according to Yu's words. This surprised Iris very much. She was also grateful to Yu because everything she wanted was granted by him, and so she wanted to show her gratitude with a kiss for him. Perhaps that kiss changed everything. The quiet night scene, only the silhouette of Tyr appeared faintly in the darkness. Before her was a crimson-pink crystal shining brightly. It fell onto the bed where there were already 4 other crystals. One would think the atmosphere would stay quiet. But no, a flare from outside forced the main door open and was thrown in. Then one by one everyone in the room except Tyr was electroshocked unconscious. This terrified Tyr, and she hugged her teddy bear tightly in her arms. The other person stepped forward to face Tyr and reached out their hand, but was repelled by the currents of electricity surrounding the area. The white mask had risen high and was shining. That person no longer hid anything and revealed their eyes. And it was Yu. Seeing that face, yet Tyr still seemed unable to realize anything. Hearing Tyr's question, the other person gave a cold laugh and then spoke with a mocking tone. "You are a dragon." Early in the morning, Yu was awakened by Mitsuki's scream. Seeing that, he quickly ran upstairs and flung open her room door. The scene then was Mitsuki naked sitting on the floor, hand covering her chest. Seeing that, Yu even intended to step forward, but was immediately given a hook on the head by her and kicked out. The scene shifted to the image of a clear sky. Mitsuki scolded Yu for barging into her room just as she was naked. At this moment Yu suddenly paused, looked at his hand and saw a strange symbol, very similar to the symbol on Iris's waist from before. When arriving in class, Lisa actively greeted Yu. This made him very surprised, but Lisa only said that she just happened to pass by and greet him. Lisa said she felt very grateful to Yu when he participated in the important mission about the Leviathan and made him an apprentice, although Yu did not understand what this was for. At this time, since Iris had not sat down at her desk, Yu went to look for her. Seeing her, so he called out. This startled Iris and she held her skirt. Iris worriedly said some words that Yu did not understand. But today everything changed, because there was a special health examination, and therefore the first and second periods were swapped and Yu was examined separately. He arrived in front of the president's room on the upper floor. In front of him was Charlotte, the one in charge of Midgar this time, and beside her was her personal secretary, Micah. The two greeted each other, then Charlotte approached Yu with a cautious tone, not wanting any girls to see a boy's body then get aroused. Charlotte shouted loudly, pointed at Yu and scolded. Then she began to examine Yu's body. Charlotte grabbed the hand with his dragon crest and muttered. Suddenly she licked Yu's hand, making him embarrassed. The examination was done, and one piece of news was revealed, that this exam was to check the dragon crests of the students. A large screen appeared. On it was the image of a basilisk that had moved out of its lair in the Sahara. Thought it was done, Charlotte invited Yu to go on an expedition, but unlike usual, those intentions were stopped by Secretary Micah beside her. Iris finished her examination, then went outside, and slumped down looking very powerless. Elsewhere, Mitsuki stood on the podium while also introducing another new friend, Honoka and Tyr, the targets of the basilisk. It seemed that Yu had met Tyr somewhere, so she looked very familiar. Next came the explanation that the horn on Tyr's head was not from a dragon crest, but created by dark matter. When Mitsuki spoke about Tyr being a human, she got angry, insisting she was a dragon, then unleashed her power, causing the entire hall to fall into chaos. Those currents of electricity, one after another, destroyed the lights, plunging everyone into darkness. Tyr saw Yuo's face when the lights turned on again, then ran to hug him tightly. She even said she was born to be the bride of the dragon and Yu was her husband. Yu was shocked, but could do nothing except give a wry smile. He took Tyr to meet Miss Haruka and explained the situation from before when he met her. And Haruka also wanted Tyr to be in the same class as Yu beside him so he could teach her knowledge. Miss Haruka did not want Tyr to end up in the same situation as Iris. Mitsuki introduced herself to Tyr, so she also became more comfortable with Mitsuki. Tyr, on the other hand, was naive. This also made Mitsuki feel that trouble was coming. When entering the classroom, Iris greeted Tyr very kindly, but she just coldly brushed past Iris and went to Yu's seat. Somehow she ended up sitting on Yu's lap, and even stubbornly, so that everyone in the class, including Lisa, felt annoyed. When going home, she even hugged Yu, making Iris, who was walking behind, feel a little sad. Yu and Tyr went to the seaside for a walk. While the two were talking, behind them was Iris with sorrowful eyes. This place was once where she gave Yu a kiss, so she felt it was unfair that Tyr was always the one beside Yu. At Yui's house, Mitsuki frowned at the sight. Yu brought Tyr home. Iris also followed along. When Iris entered Yui's room, suddenly Tyr rushed in to push her out, then insisted that his room was her nest. Mitsuki reminded her, so things calmed down, and they all sat down to study properly together. Tyr got all the answers right, then hugged Yu, wanting him to bathe together with her as a form of reward. Seeing the two keep arguing, Mitsuki decided that everyone would bathe together, but absolutely no one was allowed to take off swimsuits. Night fell. Iris and Tyr had fallen asleep, but Yu and Mitsuki had not. The two stood by the balcony talking about Tyr's current situation. Mitsuki said that someone had told her Tyr was found in an organization that worshipped dragons and they treated her like a real goddess. But Tyr was manipulated by them, making herself resemble a dragon. The next morning, before going to class, Yu persuaded Tyr to make friends with more people besides them. Finally, Tyr agreed to greet everyone and received similar friendly greetings, so she changed her outlook. Seeing everyone happily chatting with no hostility made Tyr delighted with the atmosphere at the moment. This also made Mitsuki and Yu more at ease. Iris asked to sit beside him like Tyr, but Yu refused, so she was bored and slumped on the desk for the whole class. And from then on, the relationship between Tyr and the other girls in the class improved. They went out to eat together, studied together, like friends who had known each other for a long time. Lisa, seeing Tyr cling to Yu, could not take it anymore, so she wanted to personally instruct Tyr. Afterwards, Lisa together with Yu taught Tyr how to use dark matter. While she was focusing on summoning her own weapon, the image of the mysterious person from the past appeared along with echoing voices wanting Tyr to remember she was a dragon. At that moment, Tyr's power lost control and created a massive tornado surrounding her. Yu and Lisa saw that and were very worried for her safety. Lisa called Tyr's name, but inside the tornado was Tyr's figure. It seemed she was no longer herself, had been manipulated by something deep within. At this time, Lisa was explaining to Tyr about the imagined weapon. It is used so the process of material transformation becomes more precise and efficient. Sounding interesting, Tyr eagerly tried it. She closed her eyes to concentrate. Immediately after that, a stream of tiny power appeared around Tyr. Those small sparks gradually flickered and merged into a larger mass of energy. Tyr continuously thought in her head the words, "My power, all of my power," to create Tyr's weapon. But when concentrating too hard, a mysterious cloaked person called her, making Tyr startled awake. She repeatedly hinted that Tyr was a dragon. That made a powerful vortex appear around Tyr, enveloping her and spreading out a stormy wind. At this moment, everyone was worried for Tyr. Leaving aside the tense moment, Tyr suddenly remembered the beautiful images of being with family. But the joy did not last long. All were swept away by flames and vanished. In despair, the cloaked figure appeared once again, reminding Tyr that none of this was real. And now cast everything aside. Reveal your true dragon form. Inside Tyr was like that. Outside, Tyr was surrounded by purple energy. Suddenly the girl awakened and declared she was a dragon. Right at that moment, wings, feet, and hands gradually appeared, followed by a series of shockwave powers attacking the area. Lisa panicked and retreated. Yu worriedly rushed to protect her, but unfortunately touched the wrong place, and even took the chance to squeeze and grope a few times. Then the two of them shyly overlooked it and focused on the more dangerous situation that Tyr had transformed into a dragon. Because Tyr's imagined weapon took the form of a dragon, and Tyr had completely believed she was a dragon. Then lightning strikes once again attacked the two. Seeing the tense situation, Lisa decided they had to find a way to separate Tyr from the dragon. Then Lisa summoned the weapon Gungnir, pierced through. Flames erupted, shooting straight toward the dragon. When it pierced through its wing, immediately the wing restored back to its original state. Although difficult, Lisa was determined not to let Tyr remain like that. She persisted in firing at both wings and continued using the piercing technique. At that moment, Tyr suddenly awakened and separated from the dragon form. The girl fell freely from above. Yu quickly ran to catch Tyr and kept calling her name. The girl looked at him for a moment, then fainted. Afterward, they brought Tyr into a room to rest. Yu just sat watching Tyr and decided to wait for her to wake up and talk to her. Just as he stepped out, Yu saw Hanoka taking off her shirt to check the wound on her back. Yu shyly apologized, then turned away, but still took the chance to get acquainted with the beauty, and found out that Hanoka was injured because she made mistakes during the matter transformation training. Hearing that and feeling too embarrassed, Yu asked to leave, but he was held back by Hanoka, who asked him to help apply medicine to her back. He politely took cotton, dipped it in antiseptic, and dabbed it on the wound. In this awkward situation, Yu asked about her circumstances, and learned that Hanoka had a rather cold relationship with her mother, and she had no father, having lived independently since childhood. Seeing that, Yu immediately befriended her and offered that if she ever needed anything she should tell him. He would be ready to help. After everything was done, a phone call came. It was about the dragon god cult planning to rescue Tyr Lightning. However, Midgar's defense system was tight, so they had not been able to infiltrate yet. Therefore, the anti-Niffle unit Kili Surtur Muspelheim would be dispatched. And when Kili arrived, there would be quite a lot of casualties, so Loki relied on Lieutenant Monono, Yu. Just as he hung up the phone, Tyr hurriedly ran up asking why she had fainted, where Lisa and everyone were. Yu placed both hands on her shoulders to reassure her and suggested they go out to talk about some things. Yu told Tyr about what happened earlier, that she had turned into a dragon, injuring Lisa and destroying the training room, but he knew it wasn't her fault. Still, he reminded her to apologize to everyone and made her promise one thing. From now on, she must not think of herself as a dragon anymore. She was a human girl. But Tyr refused. She summoned her power and said she was a dragon, that was why she had such strength. Then he explained that if she kept believing she was a dragon, she would never be able to stay beside Yu and everyone. And Yu also realized that Tyr's parents were fake. They had been burned to ashes. Now she only had Kili. She said this was like in the illusion earlier when she focused her power. Then Tyr sobbed, causing Yu heartache. So he held her and comforted her. After talking for a while, Yu brought Tyr back to meet everyone. Seeing that everyone happily welcomed her, Tear shyly stepped out from behind Iwu and apologized to all. Seeing Tear like that, everyone was astonished, then said that it was nothing, and they did not mind at all. But Lisa was different. She came and knocked Tear on the head, saying that those who made mistakes must be punished. They must be corrected before sinking into guilt, and Tear had already atoned. She went over to hug Tear and smiled to reassure her. Tear did not need to worry about that anymore. Seeing everyone resolve the matter, suddenly Iris came up with an idea. She suggested that tomorrow they could all go out together. It seemed fun, so they chose a green beach with waves to play. Iris ran over, showing off her new bikini after being hit by the waves earlier. Iwu praised that she looked beautiful in it, making Iris flush and collapse. Tear also competitively asked Iwu how she looked. Iwu looked her over and praised Tear as cute. But Tear only wanted him to say she was beautiful and challenged Iris. The first game was a sandcastle. Iris set the rule that whoever knocked down the stick on top first would be the loser. Then they continued playing together, and Tear was the winner. Afterward, Lisa and other groups of friends also arrived in full. Then Yuo also praised Lisa that she looked beautiful in her swimsuit. But that made Mitsuki annoyed and threw a ball at Yuyu. She criticized that it was harassment. Hearing that Yuyu had to use his diversionary tactic to praise her as beautiful. But Mitsuki also said she would not blush easily like the others. However, after he praised her, she blushed even more and even pulled his ear away, shifting the scene to Tear and Iris. Tear always won in keeping the stick still. After that, everyone also had a fun outing together. Some went fishing, some lay basking under the sunlight on the beach, some read books and chatted with each other. It truly was a peaceful and joyful outing. Then afterward, everyone together played volleyball on the beach. Beside them were Ariella and Miyazawa sitting on the beach until evening, still unable to catch a single fish. And then the principal also wanted to join in their fun. Then they began to grill BBQ on the beach joyfully and deliciously. That night, Yuwu only silently observed everyone playing around. Seeing he seemed lonely, the principal came beside and confided with Yuyu. After chatting for a while, then feeling bored, the principal wished to dance and sing together with the students, but Micah knocked her on the head and dragged her back to work. That night, Yuwu was in the lounge room and reading information about Killy. She was the leader of the Dragon God cult from 3 years ago, suspected of participating in more than 300 terrorist incidents, burning everything without necessarily touching them, a D of the fire system. She chose to live like a dragon, and Yuwu did not want Tear to live like her. Just as he bit tightly his teeth, clenched his fist in frustration, then an earthquake astonished Yuwu. He quickly became alert, and unfortunately outside was already blazing with fire like what Yuwu had read about Killy. While Yuwu was skimming through about Killy, then outside there was already a blazing fire. A dragon had come in from outside to attack. Emergency alarms continuously resounded, and a rank blue was infiltrating here. It was the blue Hekatonchires. Yuwu worriedly went outside to see. He wondered why it was here. The principal was extremely astonished that no one had detected it. But since it was here, then they had to fight. Yet it seemed quite troublesome. Afterward, the loudspeaker voice calmed everyone. Students, please remain calm and go down to the shelter. At all costs, do not approach the academy at this time. Vuman had confirmed this girl was the only one with a changing mark, meaning the target of that Hekatonchires could be Tear Lightning. These things happening made Tear extremely worried. Understanding her feelings, Lisa bent down gently to reassure. Tear, seeing that, also felt somewhat relieved. And then Mitsuki wanted Lisa to protect Tear. While the one always beside Tear was Yuyu, Mitsuki wanted to ask him to do something else. Because Tear always trusted Yuyu, and Yuyu was also the one who always chose to act in the most agreeable way. Tear saw Yuyu going and felt worried, but he also comforted the girl and promised he would return. After reassuring Tear, Mitsuki immediately gave orders. Firel and Ren gather on the rooftop, while Iris joined forces with Mitsuki and Yuo. Ariella flew into the sky and reported any changes if there were. Even though everything was prepared thoroughly, this dragon had no reaction at all, and also no one knew why they rampaged across the world. Haruka requested not to attempt to kill it. Hekatonchires could not die. Even if injured, it would still return to normal. And Niffle also had a report that they succeeded in covering its body with explosives in gas form, but it still regenerated completely. Now only could focus on defense to minimize possible casualties. But with Yuyu it was different. He still thought there was another way. Looking at that dragon, Yuyu recalled when he was younger he always longed for power and had accepted that pact. And then Yuyu accepted unification and opened fire, remembering those times. Yuyu then asked Mitsuki's intention that she brought him here because she wanted him to fight it like 3 years ago. Mitsuki confirmed that and thought right now only Yuyu was the sole one who could drive this dragon away even temporarily. but that would be her final plan, because if they repeated what had happened before, Midgar would have to suffer a very heavy loss. Moreover, Mitsuki feared Yu using that power again. However, regardless, Yu was still determined to protect Tyr and everyone in the academy. Shifting scene inside the room, Tyr was frightened, hugging Lisa tightly. At this moment, Lisa was still with Tyr, reassuring her and keeping her calm. The girl was afraid, not knowing whether Yu could win, and Lisa said that trusting in one's man and waiting was the virtue of a woman. That made Tyr a little stronger, but unexpectedly the situation was not that simple. Just as she finished speaking, an explosion caused the lights in the room to suddenly go out. Killy had arrived and took Tyr. She merely snapped her fingers and an explosion appeared right beside Lisa and Tyr. Seeing the tense situation, Lisa immediately transformed and stood forth to protect the girl. Looking at Killy's face, she seemed calm. Indeed, it was so. Lisa's spear shot toward Killy without the slightest effect, as though an invisible shield was covering her. And then another snap of fingers caused Lisa to fall backward. Killy slowly stepped toward Lisa, her gaze extremely cold. A ray of light shone directly on Killy's fingertip. Seeing that, Lisa hurried to protect Tyr and fled with her. But wherever they ran, Killy followed right behind. Each of her steps was a flame covering this space. Killy was gradually drawing closer, while Tyr and Lisa quietly hid in a closed room, listening to every explosion drawing nearer. How could they escape from Killy's grasp? Therefore, Lisa had no choice but to stand forth to protect Tyr and summoned Gungnir. Lisa fired relentlessly at Killy and told Tyr to run. It seemed Killy was far stronger. With just a glance, she instantly annihilated Lisa. On Yuu's side, he heard some kind of explosion and was startled, asking everyone, but no one else heard. He worriedly recalled when he heard Loki's call that the dragon-worshipping organization was beginning to plan to rescue Tyr. Midgar's defenses were not easy to infiltrate, which also meant they would send Killy. Remembering those words, Yu suddenly realized he had been deceived by diversion. Indeed, Killy had knocked Lisa unconscious, leaving Tyr alone in danger. At this moment, a mark appeared on Tyr's thigh. Killy walked over and took Tyr. Lisa struggled to rise to block Killy, not allowing her to take Tyr away, and Killy ruthlessly struck Lisa. A surge of power shot into the sky. Everyone saw it. Together with that source of power, the dragon had moved. When Killy embraced Tyr to leave, she was fortunately caught by Yu. Just as Killy raised her finger to snap, Yu quickly fired a bullet at Killy, but it was blocked by her shield. Afterward, the weapon in Yu's hand was also heated by Killy until blazing and melted. Yu looked at his weapon, now reduced to a slimy mess. He realized this was the ultimate technique of high-temperature matter conversion. Then Killy spoke her wish that she only wanted to bring Tyr back to Basilisk, where she belonged. And Killy blamed Tyr for not following her, which forced her to strike down Lisa. Yu angrily launched an attack. But then he thought again. If it was truly matter transmutation, Yu should have seen dark matter. Before he could think further, Killy quickly snapped her fingers to strike Yuya, and Yui's weapon continued to vanish. Afterward, Yu was brutally assaulted. Tyr witnessed it all. She remembered when her parents were burned alive and begged Killy to stop. Seeing the girl seemed unwell, she listened and spared Yu. Then Tyr reluctantly agreed to obey Killy and become a dragon, and Killy continued to manipulate her mind. She said that Tyr becoming Basilisk's bride would bring happiness to everyone, including Tyr. Thinking back about the happiness beside the students in the academy, Tyr suddenly realized something and teared up. The girl felt that she was already far too happy here and firmly refused to leave. Moreover, she wanted to become Yuu's bride more than Basilisk's, and she always wanted to remain human. Because Tyr refused to obey, it irritated Killy. She snapped her fingers once. A powerful energy surged from her fingertip. Killy decided she would make Tyr unable to live as a human anymore. Yu hurriedly rushed to stop it, but could not. Tyr was terrified. Seeing the girl like that, Yu immediately burst forth with the power of Leviathan, blasting Killy away. Killy recognized that source of power and demanded Yu hand Tyr to her. Of course, he did not agree, and Killy threatened that he would regret not handing Tyr over to her today. Before Yu could think, the dragon had already stepped into the academy, destroying every structure in its path. What would Yu do next to stop Hekatonchires and protect Tyr? The memories of the past gradually resurfaced. From many years ago, when monsters suddenly appeared and threatened human life, Yu recalled the times he met with the students. They fought together to protect this world. Recently, Yu met Tyr, a cute and energetic girl. Yet it was precisely that girl who attracted a ferocious monster and brought destruction to the academy. Killy suddenly appeared and mercilessly wounded Lisa. She wanted to force Tyr to leave. Tyr grew angry, unwilling to comply, and was harshly suppressed by her. At this moment, Tyr, injured, fainted in Yu's arms. He furiously questioned Killy about her origin. Killy deceitfully replied that she was a D. Obviously Yu did not believe her words. Killy implicitly revealed that her true identity would be for Yu to decide. She laughed mockingly and quickly departed. Now Yu still had another great threat waiting to be dealt with. Mitsuki, not receiving any response from him, urgently called loudly into the transmitter. The students, all worried for Yu, simultaneously focused on the beach, not far away. Just moments later, the transmitter suddenly came back to life. Yu's voice resounded through the device, making everyone breathe a sigh of relief. The gigantic monster still continued slowly advancing deeper into the island. Yu, while carrying Tear on his back, hurriedly asked Mitsuki about the current situation. Based on the map in her hand, she suggested diverting the monster away from the academy. Ariella grew anxious when there was no way to make the massive monster change direction. Mitsuki suddenly had an idea. She suggested using wind to force the monster back toward the sea and then launch an attack. Everyone unanimously agreed with this plan. Understanding the idea, Yu quickly brought Tear to a safe place to regroup with them. But at some point Tear had already awakened. Grabbing his shoulder, stopping him in surprise, Tear stepped down from his back, determined to fight alongside everyone against the monster. Iris, hearing this, quickly tried to dissuade her since Tear was the very target of the colossal monster's attack. Tear once again affirmed that she wanted to fight with them, and no longer wanted to run away. Yu also worried she might lose control like before, so he quickly tried to persuade her. But Tear remained resolute, saying she was no longer a D. Seeing her determination and desire to protect, Yu and the students in turn accepted the girl's resolve. Now the monster suddenly shifted its direction toward Tear and Yu as they moved. Mitsuki, seeing the opportunity, quickly and urgently led her comrades into battle stance. The massive monster, paying no attention to them, still relentlessly pursued Tear. Under Mitsuki's command, the female students in succession attacked the monster with many techniques. The monster, enduring many powerful strikes, collapsed right after. But it did not stop. It stretched its huge hand toward Tear. In this dangerous moment, Tear desperately searched for her strength. A pair of wings spread wide behind her. Powerful lightning from Tear surrounded the monster, yet still could not repel the ferocious beast. Yu hurriedly aimed his gun at it. At that moment in his head resounded the voice of Yggdrasil. He followed its words and shouted the command phrase. The bullet fired, blasting the monster upward. The female students all simultaneously stared in astonishment at the strange repulsion field. Immediately Yu loudly signaled them to once again attack. While the monster was weakened, Yu expressed his intent to borrow Tear's strength. The girl agreed without hesitation. Yu once again traded his memories to gain more energy. He did not want to lose the wonderful comrades beside him. Everyone together launched a simultaneous assault on the monster under Mitsuki's command. When the monster was pushed into the firing range, Yu swiftly launched a cannon shot at it. Showing no signs of regeneration, the monster was destroyed. Sunlight once again shone down upon the island. Everyone rejoiced. Yu felt fortunate, believing that he himself had not changed too much. At the academy, the principal escaped from the rubble. She looked at the desolate scene around her and could not help but feel furious. Micah suddenly struck her hard on the head, scolding her for stubbornly designing the building too tall. While ignoring all of Micah's objections, she sternly admonished the childish principal and signaled her to look at Haruka to learn. Haruka just happened to come out of the shelter. Seeing the students still safe, she could not hide her happiness. Time passed. Finally, Lisa also regained consciousness after being treated. Tear hurriedly hugged her while sobbing, expressing thanks to Lisa for being by her side. Lisa was deeply touched and gently comforted the girl. Elsewhere, Mitsuki and Haruka were discussing the events that had just taken place. They both lamented the heavy damage caused by facing both the monster and dealing with Killy. Mitsuki's room had also been severely destroyed. Haruka suggested she should find a new place to stay. At this moment, Yu was also troubled by this issue, as his own room was not much better. Iris shyly suggested that he could temporarily stay in her room, but before she could finish speaking, Tear had already approached and proposed that Yu marry her so that he could live with her. Yu did not agree, as he thought this was too sudden. Tear immediately retorted that she had always said she was Yu's wife. Tear suddenly grew sad, thinking Yu did not want to marry her. Yu helplessly explained to the girl about human rules, that neither of them were old enough to marry. Tear understood and cheerfully returned to normal. She gently kissed Yu on the cheek to mark that the two of them were now betrothed. The girl's unexpected kiss left everyone stunned. Iris was unwilling. She sprang up, wanting to move closer to kiss Yu, but Tear tightly hugged Yu to stop her. She insisted that now the two of them were already pledged, and when they married she would kiss Yu on the lips to seal it. Iris immediately revealed that she had once kissed Yu on the lips, leaving the girl astonished. Standing between the two girls left Yu helpless. Suddenly Mitsuki angrily stepped forward. She declared that Yu would stay in the room next to hers in the dormitory wing and also questioned all three of them for being too noisy. Her stern expression made both Iris and Tear simultaneously apologize. Mitsuki coldly turned her back to leave, but then suddenly turned back and coldly said that Yu was actually the most at fault. Yu was slightly startled at hearing his name, but then had no choice but to lower his head and admit fault. That night, in her private room, Mitsuki focused on writing the report about the incident. Seeing her cold demeanor, Yu also realized she was sulking about something. Suddenly Mitsuki stopped typing, showing she wanted to have a serious talk with him. She spoke of the reason for the monster's appearance at the academy and the possibility that it had been transferred here from elsewhere. Though such a thing had never happened before, Mitsuki frowned when mentioning Yu's bullet that had nullified gravity and launched the monster upward. Yu broke into a cold sweat and reluctantly said he was only testing it, thinking it might have an effect. Mitsuki grew slightly angry at his recklessness. She suddenly became troubled by the secrets Yu was still hiding from her. Yu recalled the things he had gone through with his friends. He needed power, and the price he paid was his memories. Yu sank into thought and said nothing more, leaving Mitsuki saddened. Yu was just about to explain when Mitsuki suddenly cut him off by asking about another matter. She grew slightly flustered when asking about Yu and Iris's kiss, causing him to freeze for a moment. Yu awkwardly confirmed it was a thank you kiss from Iris after fighting the monster earlier. After receiving his answer, Mitsuki suddenly fell silent. She said no more and prepared to leave the room. But upon reaching the door, she suddenly turned back to remind Yu not to act like that again. Unexpectedly, Mitsuki uttered an apology to Yu and to Iris, leaving Yu bewildered. Mitsuki hesitantly said it was unfair to Iris that Yu's first kiss had been with her. Those words from Mitsuki made Yu pause, as he could no longer remember those memories. Seeing he did not reply, Mitsuki hurriedly said it was not a big deal, because at that time both of them were still too young. She suggested Yu should not mind the kiss and the promise from long ago. Yu did not agree with her words and refuted. He believed that those memories always existed. Mitsuki, however, did not want to be bound by promises and instead wanted to strive on her own to fight monsters as atonement. Yu firmly declared he would end the war and would not abandon her happiness. His words deeply moved Mitsuki. She leaned against Yu and burst into tears. In an undefined space, a girl kept comforting Mitsuki when she had lost the will to fight. Suddenly everything changed. The girl named Miyako turned around and left following someone's call. The embracing hands covered the girl. Mitsuki panicked and desperately called out her friend's name. She suddenly awoke from the nightmare that had always plagued her. The next day, the students gathered at the cafe in the academy. Tear attentively inquired and took care of everyone and was about to add sugar to Yu's cup. Iris suddenly came closer, insisting Yu preferred black coffee. Tear grew slightly angry, explaining the benefits of sweets. Iris quickly added sugar to Yu's cup. Tear, unwilling to concede, dropped in another cube of sugar. Iris did not back down. Both of them alternately added sugar, making everyone very exasperated. Lisa, troubled, spoke up to admonish them. Suddenly Lisa expressed her gratitude to Tear for saving her, which made Tear momentarily cheerful again. Seeing the situation ease, Yu spoke up, praising Lisa as a good girl, which startled Lisa. She grew indignant, believing he was teasing her. Yu quickly explained he was simply complimenting her. He suddenly continued to praise Lisa's appearance, which made her slightly embarrassed. Iris and Tear also wanted to be praised and simultaneously pressured Yu. A call from the academy interrupted everything. When everyone had gathered, Haruka immediately announced the news they had received. A monster was approaching. This monster could turn everything into stone and salt with its red light. Judging from its direction, it was heading for the island, aiming directly at Tear. Haruka warned of the danger of this monster and suggested they move to a deserted island to find a way to destroy it along with the island. After the meeting, Iris and Yu strolled along the beach. Yu worried that traveling by ship might bring back Iris's painful memories, but Iris smiled brightly, assuring him she was fine, leaving Yu momentarily dazed. He praised Iris for her strength, as she always surprised him. Iris appeared full of pride in herself. Yu suddenly said he wanted to know more about her, which left Iris stunned. Yu hurriedly apologized, thinking she disliked it. Iris blushed, believing he wanted to get to know her. The two awkwardly looked at each other without saying more. The next day, the group departed according to plan. The principal watched the ship gradually leave with immense sorrow, but her emotions were suddenly interrupted by Micah's iron bar. On the ship, everyone continued to discuss their upcoming plan. Haruka announced that a student from another class would join them. Haruka introduced the student as one with outstanding achievements. It was Hanoka. Everyone could not help but enthusiastically praise Hanoka's record. Hanoka humbly accepted their compliments and warmly greeted everyone. At that moment, Tear rushed over to announce the appearance of a dolphin. Iris quickly pulled Hanoka along with the excitement. Yuyu did not join them, but instead stepped back into the cabin. Miyazawa and Firol were engrossed in their own work. Both felt dizzy as seasickness overwhelmed them. Yuyu helplessly watched them still reading books and using a computer on the ship. Yuyu snatched Firol's book, which made her displeased. He offered to return it after she recovered from seasickness. Miyazawa, sensing danger, tightly hugged her computer, refusing to let go. Seeing their discontent, Yuyu quickly greeted them, then left to let them rest. As he was walking down the corridor, he suddenly heard Mitsuki and Lisa arguing. He was about to step forward when someone pulled him away. Mitsuki insisted she was guilty toward Miyako, and that Lisa did not need to forgive her. Lisa, dissatisfied, kept questioning Mitsuki that she did not need to take responsibility on her behalf. Yuyu and Ariella hid in a corner, unable to step out and intervene because this was a private matter between the two of them. Lisa, irritated, walked away as Mitsuki continued to blame herself and put all the fault on her. Upon returning to his room, Yuyu also recalled what had happened years ago. Mitsuki had once accidentally put her close friend in danger. He believed that Lisa had always resented Mitsuki. Lost in thought, Firol came to him and demanded the return of her book. He asked about her current condition. Firol replied she was fine. She took his hand and placed it on her stomach to check that she had eaten a lot that day. This action startled Yuyu, and he quickly backed away. Firol coldly looked at his reaction and continued to demand her book back. Yuyu felt he was being teased by her and recklessly threatened to reveal the ending of the book. Firol angrily pushed him down. She forcefully covered his mouth to stop him from saying it. Yuyu struggled to remove her hand, explaining that he had never read the book. Firol grew slightly angry at being deceived. Yuyu hesitantly suggested she move away from him, but Firol suddenly reached out and touched him. Firol wanted to research new things to write about in the future. She touched Yuyu's heart and instinctively felt his heartbeat quicken. Yuyu said it was a natural reaction when facing a beautiful girl. His words momentarily stunned Firol. She thought he wanted to flirt with her but coldly retorted in denial. After a while, Firol had gathered what she wanted. Yuyu expressed his wish to know more about Lisa. Suddenly, Firol mentioned her 3 sizes, which left Yuyu helpless. Yuyu wanted to ask about the matter between Mitsuki and Lisa. He wanted to find a way to reconcile the two. Firol revealed that Lisa did not resent Mitsuki because of Miyako, which left Yuyu astonished. That evening, Yuyu invited Mitsuki to the ship's deck to talk. He expressed his wish for her to open up about her story with Miyako. Mitsuki requested to hold him to muster the courage to recount the painful events. She began to tell everything. Many years ago, Mitsuki had accidentally helped Miyako during a great storm. Miyako was a beautiful and radiant girl who left a strong impression on Mitsuki. The two gradually became close after Mitsuki discovered that Haruka, her idol, was Miyako's elder sister. Miyako had outstanding academic achievements and innate control abilities which sometimes made Mitsuki feel envious, but Miyako's genuine affection dispelled those negative thoughts. The two became so close that Miyako always prioritized Mitsuki and sometimes made mistakes. One time, the academy broadcasted an emergency warning of a giant monster intrusion. The students hurriedly entered battle formation. While everyone was discussing strategy, Miyako suddenly dazedly mumbled that the monster was calling her. Her words stunned everyone. Miyako's dragon seal suddenly shone. The monster lunged its tentacles toward them. But Miyako did not evade. Mitsuki quickly held her and dodged to the side. Upon opening her eyes, Mitsuki was horrified to find both of them surrounded by the monster's tentacles. Miyako calmly faced everything. She urged Mitsuki to leave and then walked straight toward the monster. Miyako was swallowed whole by the giant monster before Mitsuki's eyes. She transformed into another monster and appeared before them. Mitsuki screamed in agony without end. Miyako still kept comforting her friend. Mitsuki drew her bow and shot straight at the monster, injuring it. Her antimatter skill left everyone stunned, distracted. She then heard Haruka's command ordering her to continue attacking. Mitsuki wanted to refuse because it would hurt Miyako. Haruka, though heartbroken, firmly urged Mitsuki. Miyako also kept encouraging her to aim the arrow at herself. Mitsuki cried out in despair as she harmed her dearest friend with her own hands. After hearing everything, Yuyu asked Mitsuki if she wanted Lisa's forgiveness. Mitsuki, always blaming herself, did not dare to accept forgiveness. Yuyu then suggested she give Lisa the chance to forgive her. Mitsuki still insisted Lisa had the right to resent her for hurting someone she loved. Yu invoked his authority as her brother to persuade her. Mitsuki reluctantly agreed to follow his words. The next morning, Lisa approached to question Yu for interfering in the matter between her and Mitsuki. Yu calmly exposed that she did not resent Mitsuki, which astonished her. In just an instant, Lisa realized Firil had involved herself in this matter. She had voluntarily pretended to resent Mitsuki in order to ease her burden of guilt. Yu smiled and suddenly praised her as a good girl and advised Lisa to forgive Mitsuki and reconcile with her. Lisa still tried to act arrogant as she turned and left. Behind him, the volcano gradually appeared full of mystery, marking the beginning of a fierce battle. Inside the base at that time was Loki slowly stepping forward. The next moment, he appeared in Dylan's room and greeted him regarding the mistletoe. Then, he quickly guided and explained to Loki about the sacrifice of those who had lost their lives during the previous data collection mission. Upon arrival, Dylan cast his gaze upward and marveled with pride. The scene shifted to the ship where Yu and his comrades were observing the vast smoke-covered island before them. Suddenly, Tyr tightly grasped Yu's hand and lowered her head without speaking, causing everyone to look on curiously. As if understanding her worry, Mitsuki calmly posed the question of whether they would have to fight the basilisk, as if already knowing the answer. A while later, the group arrived at their destination. Upon seeing their worried expressions, Haruka gently comforted them that there were still about 3 days left before the battle. Shortly after, Hanoka was called up and immediately presented a stack of documents she had prepared introducing the volcanic island. After reading, everyone quickly became much more enthusiastic and repeatedly discussed the hot springs there. Seeing everyone return to a normal state, Haruka was satisfied and reminded them of the things that needed to be done before entering the battle. The class ended as Yu called Hanoka over and expressed gratitude for her thoughtfulness that had lifted tears and the group's spirits. Hearing that, Hanoka smiled brightly and responded as if it were natural. Ahead was Iris eagerly leading everyone to the hot spring. The scene shifted to Yu regretting not being able to go to the hot spring, when suddenly Firil approached and waved to him. It turned out she was inquiring about Lisa and Mitsuki. Yu did not deny what he had done. Right after, Firil produced a ticket for 1 day at the hot spring to Yui's surprise, as if she had already known his desire. However, Yu was still very worried about suddenly running into the others. But luckily, Firil had already anticipated this. She slowly comforted him that he would be the only one there. Night had fallen when Yu was relaxing in the hot spring, while feeling grateful to Firil. Suddenly, Iris's clear voice resounded everywhere, causing him to panic and find a hiding place. It turned out the others had arrived at the hot spring and were continuously chatting cheerfully. While they were extremely excited, Yu suddenly remembered Loki's warning and began imagining the worst-case scenario if discovered. Before he could think further, Ariella, Miyazawa, and Firil successively jumped into the hot spring and marveled at the heat. When it was Hanoka's turn to enter, a small debate arose between her and Ariella about whether or not to remove the bath towel. In a moment, Ariella and the others persuaded Hanoka. The next instant, both Tyr and Firil mentioned Yu, leaving him extremely displeased at Firil's prank. Unaware of Yu's embarrassment and fear, the three girls Lisa, Iris, and Tyr continued innocently challenging each other. Behind the large rock where Yu was hiding suddenly came Firil's voice. Stunning him, without hesitation, Yu questioned her about everyone's presence. Firil remained nonchalant and replied that this was his reward. Hearing Yu's insincere answer, she slowly approached as his face grew increasingly panicked, as if wanting to preserve his purity. Yu could not hold back and shouted loudly. His scream quickly drew the attention of the girls. Fortunately for Yu, Mitsuki heard the sound of the phone and returned to announce new information about Nifl's plan for the following day. The next morning, the silhouette of the basilisk appeared on the sea. Wherever its steps landed, the path beneath turned into ice. As if to assert its authority, the basilisk let out a great roar into the vast sky. Back on the volcanic island, through the television screen, Dylan greeted Yu's group. Immediately afterward, he began praising their bravery for having defeated the Kraken, Leviathan, and Hekatonchires. After pausing for about 2 seconds, Dylan stated that he had a weapon to deal with the basilisk, not allowing Yu to respond. Dylan continued recounting the process of investigating its weathering ability. Upon hearing this, Tyr's face revealed clear confusion at the unfamiliar concept. Yu thought for a moment and then explained it simply to her. On the other side of the screen, Dylan promptly added that the basilisk's attack could accelerate time by around 2,000 years. After a detailed analysis in the astonished eyes of everyone, he decided to name this technique Catastrophe. Haruka, on behalf of everyone, raised a question about the weapon capable of destroying the basilisk. As if he had long anticipated her question, Dylan calmly explained that time would affect nearly everything. But fortunately, the strongest alloy on Earth, mithril, could resist this, with a tone of firm conviction. Dylan hurriedly spoke about their development of a bomb encased in mithril to enhance durability and accuracy in order to comfort the souls of the comrades who had fallen to the basilisk. His stern attitude caused Miyazawa to suddenly tremble with fear. This scene caught Yuu's attention. Ariella, sitting in front, quickly noticed as well and turned to clarify. Their playful appearance made Dylan curiously remark. Haruka's face gradually flushed with embarrassment at his words. A while later, the Mistletoe was introduced to everyone in the clear blue sky, accompanied by Dylan and the observing staff. Returning to the base where Yuu and Ter were watching the sunset together, she worriedly asked about his and the others' battle. As if not wanting Ter to worry further, Yuu gently reassured her that they would be fine. Then he hoped she would come and cheer for them to give them more motivation to fight. Hearing this, Ter happily lit up as if enlightened. Her eyes shone brightly under the orange sunset glow. Night had fallen as the Mistletoe drew close to the basilisk, and the operation was about to begin. Nevertheless, Dylan carefully discussed the battle plan with Yuu's group through the large screen, analyzing every possible situation based on previously gathered data. Just as Dylan finished speaking, Ter's sweet voice resounded. It turned out she was trying to encourage him as she had promised Yuu earlier. Under the silver moonlight, the basilisk slowly walked. Suddenly it raised its head toward the sky as if it had discovered something. Just as predicted, the Mistletoe was right above it at a precise distance, in the observation room. Dylan decisively ordered the Mistletoe to be released, and in an instant it entered the basilisk's sight. As the distance between the Mistletoe and the basilisk grew shorter, it immediately unleashed its weathering strike with the third eye on its back. Within a single second, the Mistletoe lost its signal and was completely annihilated, leaving Dylan and everyone utterly stunned. He seemed to lose all strength. His face darkened as he was unable to answer any question on Yuu's side. As soon as the news arrived, Ter suddenly collapsed to the ground in pain. It turned out the dragon seal on her body suddenly glowed and heated up. Seeing this, everyone rushed over to check her condition and Yuu's helplessness. The next morning, aboard the command ship docked at the harbor, Haruka had contacted Major General Dylan. He informed that the basilisk possessed a third eye unknown to them, which was why the previous night's attack had failed. Resulting in tremendous sacrifice, Haruka believed it had been cornered, thus forced to use this third eye. But regardless, they had to destroy it so that the sacrifice of the soldiers would not be in vain. He inquired about Ter and was told she was resting in the medical room. Yuu feared Dylan would demand that he hand Ter over to Niffle. But no, he only sent an apology for having disappointed the girl. After disconnecting, Loki questioned why Dylan had not ordered her elimination the moment the dragon seal changed color. After all, from the very beginning it was Niffle who had captured the girl. Yet Dylan remained silent without answering. Dusk fell over the harbor. In the infirmary, Hanoka sat watching over Ter, her sorrowful eyes fixed on the blinking dragon seal on Ter's thigh. She reached out intending to touch it when the phone rang calling her to a meeting. In the conference room, everyone was briefed about the basilisk's third eye, that it had an attack range of around 10 kilometers, twice the usual distance. If struck by that annihilation ray, one would lose hundreds of millions of years of lifespan. However, for Ds like them, losing however many years of lifespan did not matter. Thus, they would still stick with the original plan, attacking its diamond shell from its blind spot beyond its attack range. They must strike quickly so it had no time to react. They decided to use the island as cover, hiding behind the mountain and attacking when it was about 6 kilometers away. The command ship would act as bait, carrying Ter north along the horizon, placing the island squarely in its blind spot. When the basilisk altered its course, Yuu's group would simultaneously attack from behind the mountain. The sole requirement was to fire through the island, because this operation would consume a huge amount of dark matter. Haruka divided everyone into pairs, one attacking, one supporting by supplying energy. Mitsuki would pair with Ariella, Lisa with Miyazawa. Hearing this, Yuu grew a bit worried, thinking Lisa's wound had not yet fully healed. Lisa assured that she had promised Ter her wound would be better when the operation began. The next pair was Feral and Hanoka. This was also Hanoka's first operation, but since she only needed to provide support, Haruka reminded her to stay calm and follow the plan. The last pair was Yuu and Iris. They only needed to fight as they had against the Leviathan. Haruka carefully reminded everyone not to be complacent until the basilisk was truly destroyed. They must also beware if it had any hidden abilities they had not yet discovered. Finally, everyone resolved to end the battle before the basilisk could unleash its annihilation ray. Off in the distance, the basilisk slowly approached the island. Behind the island, Yu was training his new skill. He fired an energy bullet, causing the surrounding rocks to fall into a state of zero gravity and float in midair. But when the bullet vanished, the effect ended, and the rocks fell. This was the power of the Leviathan, gravity nullification. At that moment, he recalled the headmaster's words, that he was not the only one able to reproduce the power of dragons. After the death of the Kraken, his younger sister Mitsuki had gained antimatter ability. Although nothing could confirm such a thing was safe, it had already happened before. The headmaster advised Yu not to worry. He regained his resolve and thought he could use this skill to save everyone. But then the headmaster had raised a bold counter-thought hypothesis, that all these had stolen their powers from the dragons, that humans were terrifying creatures stealing their strength, that Yu was a hunter, not prey. Ending his recollection, he was startled by the booming sound from Iris's direction. She was training by attacking distant rock spires. Seeing Iris hit her mark even from quite far away, Yu did not hesitate to praise her, so the two sat down and talked. Iris said she would give everything she could within her power. Yu praised that she always exceeded his expectations. His words made her blush. Iris remembered that day by the shore when he had said many things, among them that Yu wanted to know her, and she did as well. Returning to the present, Yu wondered if it was alright that Iris had given him her first kiss as thanks. Iris said she did not mind because it was Yu. Just as Yu was about to say something, Iris, weakened by emotion, placed her hand over his mouth, afraid he might say something that would sadden her and affect the mission. And even if he intended to say something that would make her happy, she would not allow it, because they needed to focus their minds and fight for Tyr. After training ended, everyone returned to the infirmary to visit Tyr before going into battle. Lisa promised she would not let the dragon capture the girl, and hoped she could try to wait just a little longer for them. Weakly, Tyr said she would wait for Yu and everyone to come back. Yu also promised that he would defeat the red dragon Basilisk and then return to her. When Basilisk was still 15 kilometers from the island, they began the operation. The command ship immediately set sail, while Yu's group quietly hid behind the island. Basilisk was heading straight, but then suddenly felt something strange, blinked a few times, realigned its target, and turned its direction toward the command ship. At this time, on the mountain of the island, the designated attackers began summoning their weapons. Mitsuki summoned a bow, Firil summoned a spellbook, Lisa summoned a spear, and Yu summoned a great cannon thanks to the power of the six-headed dragon Yggdrasil. When the attack group moved into position, the support group began their work. Ariella transmitted energy to Mitsuki, Hanoka to Firil. This was the first time she felt the abundant energy flow through her body. Miyazawa to Lisa, and Iris to Yu. At that moment, from the command ship came the announcement. Basilisk was only 6 kilometers from the island. Haruka began the countdown for this supposedly surprise attack operation. Yu's group tried to amass as much energy as possible, hoping for success. As soon as the order to fire was given, immediately, the piercing arrow, the supernatural cannon shot, the energy orb, and the flaming spear burst forth, unleashing their attacks. The powerful energy pierced through layers of rock and soil, rushing straight toward the red dragon Basilisk at extreme speed. Yet somehow, its third eye still detected it. Basilisk didn't hesitate to unleash its deadly red destruction ray, intercepting Yu's group's strike. The destructive beam was so strong that it completely swallowed their attack and even bounced back, shattering the mountain and striking them instead. Everyone panicked in shock, unable to believe this result. In the infirmary on the command ship, Tyr convulsed in pain as if electrocuted. Outside, Basilisk's destruction ray pierced the island. No one knew whether Yu's group was alright. At that moment, Yu gently spoke to Iris, saying he hoped to know her better someday. Hearing these sincere words, Iris blushed shyly and finally voiced the feeling she had kept inside for so long. Meanwhile, Mitsuki still resolutely claimed that the sin of killing Miyako was hers alone to bear, and she must atone. Then Lisa repeatedly scolded Mitsuki in front of everyone. Watching this, Tyr wished she could do something. While Tyr writhed in pain, everyone outside looked on, worried for her. Lisa swore she would never let the dragons take Tyr. As Lisa launched her attack from the island, the eyes of the red dragon radiated a power that overpowered everyone else's attacks. It pierced through many layers, Just then, Yu hastily fired a bullet that deflected the course of this power like some kind of Indian physics trick. But luckily, thanks to the protagonist's halo, it worked. And the power vanished. Seeing how bad the situation was, inside the control room Haruka quickly ordered everyone to retreat immediately, moving at the lowest altitude possible. At this time, the Red Dragon unleashed another strike on the island, piercing everything with immense destructive force. After a moment of silence, the control room hurriedly reported that the attack team had returned. Hearing this, Haruka immediately ordered to increase speed and leave the area at once. Meanwhile, everyone was still gathered in the infirmary, worried about Tyr. Lisa and the others were sorrowful because they could do nothing to help her. At that moment, everyone had fled, perhaps they had been defeated. In this quiet time, suddenly Mitsuki turned away and left first. Seeing her go, Yu quickly tried to follow, but before he could, Haruka stopped him. She encouraged Yu, saying it was thanks to him that everyone could return safely. Humbly, Yu replied that the credit should belong to Hinoka instead. But even so, the operation had failed, and Niffle would not let them off easily. At this moment, Mitsuki was out on the deck, and Yu ran out to share his thoughts with her. Mitsuki was deeply blaming herself for being useless, but Yu kept encouraging her, saying he would never give up. Then he reminded her of the promise she had made to Lisa, and Yu continued to urge Mitsuki that he didn't want her to keep shouldering all the responsibility like that, reminding her not to give up. Hearing these words, she felt a little lighter and somewhat comforted. The scene shifted to Yu and Mitsuki reviewing the battle between the Red Dragon and Niffle. Yu assessed that Niffle seemed to have done better than them, while Mitsuki reconsidered their original plan. They had used the horizon and the island, even attacked from the dragon's blind spot, and although it sounded perfect, Mitsuki questioned why it was still able to detect them. At that moment, Yu noticed and realized that the Red Dragon hadn't used its third eye when it attacked them. If it had used that eye, they would have been finished. Realizing this, Yu immediately went to the control room and asked Haruka to contact Loki Jotunheim of Niffle. Yu told Loki up front that he didn't want to kill Tyr, and that he had a new plan. Yu now hoped Loki could persuade Niffle to lend him a Mistletoe. Yu believed that if they used Mistletoe, they still had a chance to defeat the Red Dragon, even though previously Mistletoe had been nothing compared to it. Seeing Yu's determination, Loki decided to try helping him this one time. After finishing the call with Yu, Loki immediately connected with Major General Dylan. The scene shifted again, with Yu calling everyone into the meeting room. He believed Niffle's strategy was the most useful way to fight the Red Dragon, and the one thing Mistletoe lacked was a thick enough layer of mithril. If the Ds like them supplemented that with their matter transmutation abilities, they could use it to finish the Red Dragon. Then Lisa gave her opinion. The Red Dragon's third eye could disintegrate even mithril, and no amount of mithril could withstand it, which was why Niffle had given up. Yu countered that only applied if it could use catastrophe. Yu explained thoroughly. Up until now, the Red Dragon had fired catastrophe twice from its third eye, and each time it required about 5 seconds of activation. On top of that, it should have been able to use it against them, but it hadn't, which meant there was a price it had to pay each time it used it. Yu's group could only generate dark matter in limited amounts, and perhaps the same was true for the Red Dragon. It had used up all its power to destroy Mistletoe, and in the 5 seconds afterward, it would be drained, meaning it would be powerless right after attacking, and that would be the moment they could destroy it. If they could provide enough mithril to withstand those 5 seconds from the third eye, Mistletoe could reach the Red Dragon Basilisk. After discussion, everyone agreed, except Hinoka, who remained silent. During that very meeting, she decided to speak with Yu. Hinoka was still uneasy about destroying the Red Dragon, but as she was voicing her hypothesis, Iris pulled Yu away because Lisa and Mitsuki were in conflict again. Mitsuki had decided she would board Mistletoe, but Lisa firmly refused to let her friend do such a thing. However, Mitsuki's resolve could not be stopped. Seeing this, one by one, their friends all volunteered to take Mitsuki's place, including Yu. At that moment, Lisa came up with a condition under which she could forgive Mitsuki. Mitsuki must devise a flawless strategy, one that naturally included everyone's participation, one that satisfied everyone there, and most importantly, one that brought everyone back safely. Late that night, Mitsuki sat blankly on the deck, and once again, Yu, ever the considerate man, came out to share and comfort her. At that time, Mitsuki remembered the days of her childhood when Yu used to soothe her and be by her side, which had made her very happy. Thinking of this, she suddenly opened her eyes and looked at him. The two of them smiled and chatted happily together. Then Mitsuki left and ran back to her room, determined to come up with a new plan. But at that moment, a new problem arose. The infirmary where Tyr had been was completely destroyed. Yu immediately thought of Loki's shadow. Yu hurriedly ran to search for Tyr, and at that moment he saw Hanoka carrying her away. He immediately rushed forward to stop her, but Hanoka flicked her fingers and forced him back. That familiar gesture made him instantly realize the connection between Hanoka and Kili. In the next moment, Hanoka transformed into her true form Kili, her face filled with killing intent as she smiled at Yu. Now Yu finally understood that she had been deceiving them all this time. Kili admitted that the atmosphere within their group wasn't bad, though she regretted having to return to her solitary path. Yu refused to let Tyr be turned into basilisk and stood ready to fight Kili to protect her. Kili mocked him, saying they only had two choices: either destroy the red dragon basilisk or destroy Tyr. But she offered a third life as dragons. Wasn't life better than death? What could be worse than dying? But Yu was not swayed by such words. He firmly declared that Tyr had chosen to live as a human, and so he would never hand her over. With words failing, they clashed in battle. Kili summoned a barrage of explosive rounds, while Yu summoned a shield. In terms of dark matter strength, Kili was far superior, but Yu did not care whether D or not. As long as his opponent was human, he would not lose, for he was Loki's strongest Fafnir. Gripping a shard from his shattered shield, Yu used his Godspeed footwork to swiftly evade the rain of projectiles and close in on Kili, restraining her. Kili questioned why he didn't kill her, but Yu replied that Tyr had chosen to be human, and he wanted to know what Kili would choose. With a calm smile, she said she was a dragon. But Yu reminded her of her own words that he could decide what she was. And now, he decided that Kili was also human. At last, Kili released Tyr. Before leaving, she warned Yu that Basilisk was a formidable foe, one that could see the future. Then, before parting, she kissed Yu lightly on the cheek, telling him to prove himself stronger than Basilisk. When Mitsuki and Lisa rushed over after hearing the explosions, Kili had already vanished. They quickly brought Tyr back to the infirmary, where Yu explained everything to the others. Learning that Basilisk could see the future, Mitsuki finally understood why they had failed before. The scene shifted to a military aircraft. Mitsuki reviewed the battle plan again. The drop point for Mistletoe would be at 15,000 meters, and they would move to the release site using Nifl's aircraft. Firul and Mitsuki would control Mistletoe's trajectory until it struck Basilisk. Oriella would deploy multiple layers of physical barriers to shield Mistletoe and the group. Lisa and Miyazawa would create an air shield to reduce the shockwave of the explosion on everyone, while also handling unexpected developments such as confirming whether the third eye's attack duration stayed within 5 seconds. If it attacked longer than 5 seconds, they would execute Plan A. If it attacked a second time, Plan B. If it chose to evade, Plan C. No matter which plan was used, every member was vital. Finally, Yu and Iris, their role would depend heavily on the situation. One by one, the group slid down from the aircraft onto Mistletoe with firm resolve. This time, they would destroy the Red Dragon Basilisk and save Tyr. As the operation began, Basilisk seemed to sense something. It lifted its gaze to the sky, its eyes blinking and a growl rumbling in its throat. On the command ship, Haruka reported that the Red Dragon had stopped moving, likely aware of Mistletoe. The countdown began 3 minutes. In the infirmary, Tyr's dragon seal glowed as she writhed in pain, breathing oxygen on the bed. The moment Mistletoe reached its position, Haruka gave the order to release it. They began adjusting its altitude. Basilisk showed no intention of dodging, so they recalibrated Mistletoe's trajectory. Firul carefully calculated the descent path for the battle plan. Below, Basilisk shifted its stance, preparing to intercept Mistletoe as it had before. At 10,000 meters altitude, its third eye began to gather power and then unleashed its red catastrophe beam. Everyone began counting down the duration of this move within 5 seconds, and they had predicted correctly. The third eye could only fire its attack for 5 seconds. However, Mitsuki felt regret. If it had attacked when they were at 5,000 meters, it would have been better. She instructed everyone to prepare for the second strike from the third eye. Lisa analyzed that perhaps it attacked early just to buy time for its second strike. While they were still discussing, they had already reached 5,000 meters. At this distance, the basilisk could attack with its normal catastrophe move. Of course, catastrophe was not strong enough to stop the Mistletoe from approaching it, so it had to continue using its third eye. Mitsuki still remained calm, because if the Crimson Dragon attacked based on the future it saw, and its actions could change the future, then they would turn its own weapon against it by changing their future and delivering it an unexpected strike. Mistletoe was shattered by the second strike of the third eye, and the group immediately deployed Plan B. As soon as the silhouette of Lisa's group appeared, the Crimson Dragon Basilisk also saw its own grim future. It turned its head to flee, but it was too late. Lisa launched the Holy Spear, piercing through its third eye. The basilisk roared in agony, gravely wounded. At that moment, Yu and the others had also landed on the ground. Yu fired a zero-gravity bullet. Firo launched an attack with a compressed air sphere. Miyazawa struck down with a hammer Mjolnir upon the Crimson Dragon, and Iris used an explosive move to break its hard defenses. Mitsuki and Lisa were both determined not to let the tragedy of Miyako happen ever again. Finally, Yu borrowed the power of the Six Dragons Yggdrasil to fire a powerful anti-dragon energy bullet. Mitsuki fired the ultimate arrow, Lisa fired her blazing spear, and Ariella along with everyone else also assisted in attacking. Being besieged at close range, the Crimson Dragon Basilisk could no longer endure. In the end, its body exploded, black smoke billowing thickly. In the infirmary, Tyr's dragon seal had returned to normal. Yu and everyone had succeeded. Everyone was still alive. Lisa praised Mitsuki's excellent plan and decided to forgive her. Lisa ran to embrace Mitsuki and expressed admiration, proud to have a friend like her. Everyone ran to hug each other in celebration. In a tall tower, Mr. Dillon received the report that the Crimson Dragon Basilisk had been annihilated. In Loki's personal office, he smiled in satisfaction. In the bathroom, Killy kissed Yuyu's picture on a tablet, whispering that they would meet again. On the tower of Midgar Academy, the principal saw the victorious ship returning and happily said he wanted to hold a celebration banquet. But his secretary Micah told him to restrain himself since they still had to rebuild and repair the academy. After returning to Midgar, Mitsuki went to thank Yu for what he had done and also expressed that she would keep the promise she made when they were children, that she would always love her brother more than anyone else forever. When hearing Mitsuki mention things from the past, fragmented images between Yu and his sister appeared in his mind. He spaced out for a moment, then went to the promised place to watch the sunset with Iris. Yu revealed that every time he made an exchange with Yggdrasil, he would lose a portion of his memory. Yu feared that if one day he needed even greater power, he might even forget Iris. Hearing this, she told him to tell her the memories he never wanted to forget, and she would remember them for him. Even if Yu forgot her, Iris would never forget Yu, because they would always be together. The next morning, Mitsuki pulled Yu, running quickly to class. They saw that Tyr had recovered, and the classroom atmosphere became lively again. Our story ends here, but the journey of Yu and the girls of class Brunhild will not stop there. They will fight for each other until all the dragons are destroyed.